All right, guys, so today's notes is over two different types of story problems. We're going to look at type 1, which is this here, which is over a total story problem. And then we're going to look at type 2, which is going to consist of comparisons. Okay, so what you did on Friday was you looked at just basic word problems, understanding the vocab and whatnot. Whereas here, we're going to specifically take word problems and use those and use algebra to help us solve each problem. So looking at our type 1 here, a local, and again, these are total, sorry. So type 1 is over total. And what our problem says is a local graphic designer charges $25 for creating a t-shirt design and then $12.75 for each shirt printed. If the math club has a billing total, so that keyword there is total, that is $216.25 for t-shirts for its members, how many members purchased the shirts? Okay, so here's how you want to go about these problems. In a total story problem, you will need to find a total. So we have a total here, this 216, by adding items up and saying them equal to the total. The format that you want to use is you want to take the rate, okay? So whatever the rate is, plus your set amount, and you want to set that equal to whatever the total is, okay? So one thing to really remember is when you're talking about the rate, so anything that is per an item, that's where your variable goes. So your rate is where your variable is going to be. So when you see per some kind of an item, that is your rate, okay? Your set amount is, again, just a set amount that you have to pay every time. So remember, the rate is where your variable goes, okay? So now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and set up our problem. So we're going to go through 5 specific steps. The first step is we want to define our variable. So you need to pick some kind of a variable. I'm going to stick with X because we're used to X. Okay, so you want to start by defining that variable. Then you want to pull out different important information from above. So some key things to look up, guys, is that you're charging this $25. That $25 is being charged every time, so that's going to be like your set amount. The other key thing here is you have $12.75 for each shirt printed. So that's like your rate. So that's the $12.75 per a shirt. And then you also have your total right here. So those are the 3 main things you need for your equation. So you want to start with your rate, which is that $12.75 a shirt. So you're going to take $12.75x because each shirt is $12.75 plus that set $25 charge for your design. Okay, so that's your set amount, and then that's got to equal your total, which is the $216.25. So there's your equation. So you got all this from your information above here. Step 3, make sure you remember to assign what your variable is. So for us, X is specifically representing the number of shirts. So don't forget that. Okay. And then step 4, solve. So you want to take your equation. You want to take your equation from above, this 1275x plus 25 equals 216.25, and you want to solve. So you want to start by subtracting 25 from both sides. So you end up with 1275x equals 191.25. And then you need to divide both sides by this 1275x, and x is 15. So then your last step, last but not least, is you want to label. So you have 15 shirts or 15 members. Okay, so that is a total story problem. The key thing to remember is your rate is where your variable goes, And you want to always take your rate plus the set amount and set that equal to your total. Okay, so that's the first type of story problem we're going to look at. Now let's take a look at the second type. The second type we're going to look at is comparison. Okay, so we're going to be comparing a couple of things with these story problems. Okay, so let's take a look at the story problem so you can see what I mean when I say comparison. So for this specific problem, it says you want to take karate or taekwondo. For karate, you have to pay a $100 enrollment fee and then $40 per class. For taekwondo, you have to pay a $50 enrollment fee and then $55 per class. You're going to give an explanation that helps you decide when it is cheaper to take one over the other. So in this situation, again, in a comparison problem, you're going to have two specific situations. For us, we have karate as one situation, and then our other situation is taekwondo. So we're comparing between those two specific situations. Okay? So now we're going to go basically through the exact same process we did with our total problems, but this time we're going to set those two equal to each other. So basically you want to start once again by defining your variable. Once we'll make ours x again. And we want to pull out that important information. So since we have two specific situations, let's take a look at these two situations. For karate, you have a $100 enrollment fee. That's a one set amount. And then you have 40 per class. So for karate, you have 40 per class. So that's your rate. So that's going to be 40x plus that $100 enrollment fee. And we're going to be setting this equal to whatever we find for taekwondo. For taekwondo, you have a $50 enrollment fee, but then $55 per class. So for taekwondo, I'm just going to abbreviate, you have $55 per class plus that $50 set rate. Okay, so those are your two different situations. And again, what we want to do is we want to set those equal to each other. Now remember, you need to assign your variable what specifically it is. And for us, our variable is our number of classes. So at what point will a specific situation be cheaper is what we're trying to figure out. So what number of classes will make that difference? So then step 4 now is to solve our equation. So we want to take our karate, that 40x plus 100, and set it equal to taekwondo, which is at 55x plus 50. So get like terms on the same side. So I would first subtract over this 40x. So now over here you just have 100 equals 15x plus 50. Subtract the 50. So you get 50 equals 15x. And for x, you get about 3.3 repeating. So, what does that mean? When we get x to be 3.3 repeating, what does that specifically mean? Well, that 3.3 repeating is the point in which both classes are the exact same amount. Now, the problem is you can't go to 3.3 repeating classes. You can go to 3 or you can go to 4. We need to figure out at what point will something be cheaper over the other. Well, the way you figure this out, one of them has a $40 per class, the other has a $55 per class. The cheaper per class is going to be cheaper after a certain amount of time. So in this situation, if you go to just 3 classes, it would be cheaper to go to the taekwondo. But if you were then to go to 4 classes, so the next higher number after 3.3, 4 and more, it would be cheaper for karate. So your answer is at 4 or more classes, it will be cheaper to take karate. And then that's it. So those are the 2 problems that I have for today for your notes. You will now have a little worksheet with a couple of practice problems going over total and comparison problems. That will be it for today. Have a great rest of your day and see you soon. Bye.